Okay. Hi. Welcome, everyone. Can we start the session now? Isat, the introduction.
Okay. So, hello everyone. I'm Vishal Patel. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Ubic Edge, a venture pushing the boundaries of IoT and AI integration in innovative ways. I'm honored to be moderating this panel on the fantastic and exciting topic on IoT and AI. So, let me take this opportunity to introduce my fellow panel members. So, first we have Mr. Gopalan Govindarajan. He's the advisory systems engineer at Dell Technologies. Then we have Mr. Vitor Domingos, who's the lead solutions architect at Hitachi Digital Services. We have Ms. Sulekha Dey, who's the CEO of Things Alive, a company into IoT and AI. And lastly, we have Dr. Deepo Philip, who's the professor in charge of Startup Innovation and Innovation Center at IIT Kanpur, and is also the professor in Industrial and Management Engineering. So imagine a world wherein everyday devices not only collect data, but can analyze it, make decisions, and even predict the future. Wouldn't that be nice? This is the power of IoT and AI working together. We would like to know about its impact in our daily lives. So, Mr. Vitor, if you could please tell us what is the impact of integrating AI with technologies such as robotics and Internet of Things? And to add on to that, do you think AI can leapfrog IoT?
Well, hi everyone. Thank you for having me today. That's kind of an interesting question, especially for us at Hitachi, because we've been integrating AI with IoT and robotics for a while now. So it's interesting to see how transformative potential that integration has across different industries. It can create intelligent systems, and we're talking about the especially on the autonomous part of decision making and also with adaptive learning. So that's kind of the combined power when we join AI or Gen AI more recently, the robotics and the Internet of Things combined together. That can create this kind of seamless data flow between all of them. And we think that the major outcome would be anything that we can do on top of that, like predictive insights, or even bring all of that automation that will give a lot of capabilities at a scale. And I think that the key impacts that currently we've seen within the industry, I will try to resume that in threefold. The first one is the enhanced operational efficiency that we get from all of that, because we understand that, for example, artificial intelligence, the algorithms, and even Gen AI, the things that we're currently doing, can analyze IoT sensor data in real time. We've been doing that at Hitachi Rail. We can optimize operations by using all of that information, reducing any kind of waste that will happen from that. But the key point is doing all of the predictive maintenance when we align robotics to IoT. And this is quite important in sectors like manufacturing and energy sector, and also in the logistics. The second one is about the customer experience that we get when we join all of this together, especially in smart homes and cities, for example, where AI and with AI and IoT can enable devices to have tailored experiences by learning any kind of user preferences that they can understand and adapt any kind of services they can provide dynamically. And the last one is when we align robotic with AI and IoT to create self-navigating systems, for example, such as drones and autonomous vehicles. That's kind of a looking ahead of when we do all of this integration. And again, if we're going to take back to the sectors and industry I just mentioned, the logistics, for example, agriculture and healthcare, I think that we see a lot of potential when we join all of this together. And to go to the last part of your question, do we think that AI will leapfrog IoT? I don't think so. I think it will complement IoT. Because it will elevate IoT by enabling all of these systems and all of these connections into a way that the outcome of that will be a cohesive system that could think, learn, and act autonomously, depending on all of that data and decisions that the systems can collect and connect to a repository. Sorry, repository, for example.
That's a great answer. So I think that definitely says that AI is going to simplify IoT for sure, if not leapfrogging at least. So now talking about the road ahead, what's next for IoT and AI? So Mr. Govind, can we get some insights from you in terms of what innovations you foresee in the coming future in your organization or in the global landscape?
Yes, how much time? Because there's so much that one can talk about. How IoT and AI work together.
Your voice is breaking a lot. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Not so very clearly.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, much better.
So I need to amp my voice to be heard. Is it okay now? Can you hear me now?
Better than before. Yeah. Yeah, please.
So I was saying, somebody says not okay. How else can I make myself? But, okay, I'm actually shouting. I don't know. Is this okay now?
Still breaking up a bit.
I think if you come closer to the mic, or yes, I think you'll
Sitting
get
the
better.
top of the laptop.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Closer to the laptop.
Okay. So I was
Yes,
saying,
Govind, please go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry for that. So I was saying, we will require a whole lot of to talk about innovation in the AI and IoT space. There is so much that one can accomplish, and we are already in the path of bringing all of those changes here. If you take the top 4, 5 areas of innovation, I could talk about automation. Automation is one such area that pervades many verticals. You have automation in manufacturing, you have automation in healthcare, you have automation in energy management, and you have automation in personalization that would overlap healthcare also. You're talking about hyper personalization of factories and hyper personalization of wearables as a technology. Then you also have security enhancements and sustainable practices. There are so many areas of how we could look at automation. So let us take automation in the smart factories, for example. Uh, Smart Factory 5.0 is in the coming. Okay, when you talk about Smart Factory 5.0, Industrial Automation 5.0, we are talking about factories talking amongst themselves. You have shop floor, you have machineries in the shop floor, which are IoT enabled and AI embedded. Now, all of these things, you have robots and cabots as well, right? Now, these are functioning today. Now, these things start interacting amongst themselves. Okay, I have a factory, I have about 8 locations. Now, imagine a scenario where if my factory is totally IoT enabled and my factories start interacting amongst themselves, to become less human intervention. Tomorrow, if there is a supply chain issue, the factory can resolve itself amongst themselves. I'm not sure about the veracity of a video. I just saw a video in China. There was one robot which talked to another 5, 6 smaller robots and said they were complaining about lack of rest. I'm telling you honestly, I saw a video. And the taller robot took the smaller robot out of the factory. Imagine we are at the very nascent stage of IoT and AI right now. 10 years down the line, when we have completely made this a possibility, imagine if the factories started talking amongst themselves, what will be the scenario? So that's just one such scenario. Now, there are about variables as a tech when you talk about automation. I have a pendant I'm wearing which non-invasively monitors my heart and everything. I have a smartwatch which monitors my BP, heart rate, and everything. Imagine a technology where all of these wearable technologies talk within themselves. And there is an accelerometer in my watch. Because of the AI and IoT enablement, before I even fall down, before I even go into a serious issue, they will dial to my doctor, and my doctor will already be on the way. Imagine a scenario like that. when we are talking about 5G, no, AI, automation, and 5G, these are deadly combinations. We are just waiting for them to take their rightful place, and you just see them match. Did that answer the question? Of course, there are a lot of areas where we can talk about. These are 4 or 5 ones that I thought are critical.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Philip, if we could get your views on the same question in terms of what innovations do you foresee in the coming future on a global landscape?
Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. I think a lot of the things people have said, and people think that a lot of people agree that it actually will do wonders and stuff like that. My viewpoint, slightly being an academician and not an academician, practicing academician, I would say, is that there will also be a lot of course corrections as well. We will do things, we'll find that, okay, this is good, this is not good, this is what we intended. Because a lot of the time, we also would we will also create scenarios where we were intending something, but unintended consequences happens out of it. So like, for example, I work in the field of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs. And we would develop sensors that would actually be able to identify proper targeting, or so make sure that the identification of the target using heat signature or form and other kind of things is pretty good. And the UAV autonomously identify the target and launch the weapon. That's something easy to say. Now, and you put intelligence into it and those kind of things. And at some point of time, we foresee that we have no control over what it's going to do. So then we may want to do course corrections and stuff like that. So one thing is, there will be a lot of very simple innovations for sure, which will actually ease our life, which will improve the standard of living, quality of living, etc. Which will, a lot of startups will come into that picture. They will hamper that market. They will make a lot of products. They will go forward. That will be one economic churner in that. There will be some very high level innovations which would actually require a lot of investment, and some of the big companies will do it. And sometimes people will regulate, sometimes governments will come in for regulations, etc. That would be another way I think about it. And the third part is that we will probably people working on developing better and smarter sensors, because a lot of this is like, I give this very bad example in the class, which is when I was a student, I had floppy disks. If you take my floppy disk and put it in a computer, you will actually see I have 2 or 3 pictures of my favorite actors, and you can see, okay, this is the favorite actress of this person. Now became zip disk, from 256 or 512 KB, it became 100 megabytes. So many more pictures started coming in. But you can still say, looking at a simple histogram, you can say, okay, 60% of the pictures belong to this person, so she is still his favorite actress. Now I have a 1 terabyte pen drive, you put it in, and you have like 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh pictures. Then what will you do? You have to now write an algorithm to figure out through this mess that who is the favorite. And then you can say with 90% confidence interval, I might be able to say that this is the person whom. So when the storage became cheaper, we started storing so much of things. So to make sense out of what we are storing is also becoming a big problem. So we are all excited by it. Yes, but I mean, I don't want to see to take the other approach. But I'm trying to say is that we will always have a lot of space for innovation. We will have also a lot of space for technological advancements and other things. But we will also have a lot of course corrections, introspection, redefining, and moving forward accordingly. So that at the end of the day, as we say, we are all there for the betterment of the mankind. If that is the goal in our mind, then hopefully this technology will take us. Hopefully, I'm not very sure it will, but hopefully it will.
Doctor, to follow up on with that, I believe you've been mentoring a lot of startups at IIT Kanpur and elsewhere as well. So as per you, what do you think works in IoT and what doesn't? Because so far we haven't been able to see a lot of success in this part of the world on IoT.
Okay, well, this question is tricky. And I will try to answer it I'll try to evade this question by answering in a roundabout way. I'm joking that. See, for me, the definition of innovation or mostly innovative solution is it's creativity plus commercialization. It is a simple equation. Innovation is equal to creativity plus commercialization. So you could have a really creative solution. It's like, okay, Victor is wearing spectacles. And let's say he's wearing a mask, his spectacles fog up. So I come up with an innovation to put 2 wiper blades on his spectacles. It's a creative solution, but it is not commercializable, probably. Because you probably would not spend his hard-earned money buying that spectacle. He's like, who the hell came up with this nonsense? That's the way he probably would talk about. So it is, in a way, it has to be creative, and it also has to be commercializable, right? So only then you have a business venture out of it. You can actually translate your innovation to a product, and from the product, people buy your product. You get your business, and that way your enterprise moves forward, progresses that way. So so a lot of the times we see a lot of creative solutions, but then the commercial feasibility is sometimes a question mark. And sometimes we find really commercializable ideas, but then the solution turns out to be, what is this? So judging both, that is why sometimes when you incubate a lot of startups, we particularly make sure that we choose a lot of them very specifically. But there are so many people who actually incubate them without analyzing both of them. That's why you get to see a lot of startups which actually says, well, I came up with a very creative solution, but nobody's buying my product. And that you should have thought through to begin with too. So that's the answer I have to give it. I mean, I don't know whether it suffices or not.
No, I think that's wonderfully answered. So yes, creativity is the basic hygiene, but then commercialization and ROI is something that matters the most at the end of the day for any technology to see light out there in the world. I'll hold on to the thought of ROI for now. But before getting onto that, I want to talk about some real world cases. Ms. Sulekha, if you could just help us understand some of your applications, any real world applicable problem statement or use case that you would want to talk about, which can be insightful for our audience.
Hi, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah, so very good evening. It's really wonderful discussions that is happening in and around about IoT and AI. We are, I would say, around 5-year-old startup, and from initial, we have been working very closely to automotive industry. Talking about IoT solution, the real world problem statement, the data is moving everywhere. If you talk about uh, the data which is unstructured, the data which is a sensor based, the data which is already structured, right? All this data has quite a meaningful insight. So in the real time, any industrial solution that is required to understand how this data will be meaningful and how this data will bring insightful informations that will give certain business decisions to make it. So for an example, in automotive segment, we have been working for engine diagnostic solutions with IoT enablement, where a service engineer previously used to use very heavy diagnostic machineries, and they cannot bring those machineries to in the field, let's say commercial vehicle, agricultural field. There is breakdown in the tractors, right? So they cannot bring those heavy machineries to do the diagnosis, right? So that's the problem statement where you are looking for optimizations of the machinery's data point, how fluent and easily you can access the data and interact with that. That's the main purpose of the IoT. So that in this particular scenario, we did a lot of sensor readings, and we connected with the service engineer to have the diagnostic solutions on top of the commercial vehicle, and that reduce a lot of unnecessary travel with the heavy devices, and that improve fleet efficiency basically. So I'm just giving one of the example for IoT, but when it comes to AI, AI can access different form of data, whether it's a sensor, structural, imaginary or textual data. uh, every data has in the real world looking for some of the insightful, because we have to optimize the way the data represent. We have to analyze the way the data is trying to say to the human being, right? So where the AI model works very efficiently to analyze the different form of data coming from IoT devices or coming from, I would say, structural form of the data. Uh, Basically, that helps to analyze the real-time scenario to solve it. When we talk about process automations, for an example, process automation with the AI-driven approach, it's improve accuracy more than 98%. Some of the industry where strategically the work efficiency can be enhanced and can be seamlessly like invoice processing or data reconciliations can be seamlessly interact with the RPA process with the AI enablement. So yeah, there are a lot of real-time scenarios that industries are working with the service teams, and many innovations are coming up. Yeah, that's I would say.
Thank you so much, Saleka. Uh, so I think we all have been looking at technology and integration and data flowing everywhere, right? And we're surely making technology work relentlessly to make our lives easy. Uh, but again, coming back to my favorite part, that's ROI. Everything eventually needs a commercial value to be justifiable in terms of its implications across the society. So it's important that we look at the profound implications of IoT in industries, businesses, and societies. So, Mr. Govind, this question is to you since you work on customer journey. Is ROI an important discussion? And how do you measure ROI vis-a-vis innovation?
Oh, yes. Is my voice clear now, audible? Is better?
Yes, perfect this time.
Thank you. Thank you. ROI is very important, especially for a startup. When you have invested or you are in the process of investing, when you have investors lined up, you need to show them the matrices, like if I'm going to invest so much, what is the ROI and the TCO? These are very important topics, but especially so in AI and IOI, AI and IoT. When you talk about ROI, you're talking about justifying your investments. Okay. Now, when you want to do this, you talk about, you set about a clear agenda for you. You set specific goals and time frame. When you set measurable goals, realistic goals, and especially when you are a startup, I'm sure Suleika will add more to this context. Uh, where you take guidance from the industry resources, industry gurus, people who've already been there, seen that, done that. They will be able to guide you on this, setting up realistic goals, time-bound, outcome-based goals that will determine the expected returns for the innovations. Okay. Now you also need to have matrices. It could be a qualitative metric or a quantitative metric. Quantitative metric I would define by way of say cost saving. What are the when you're a startup, especially, you need to be slightly thrifty, right? What are the ways of how I could reduce my cost and I could increase my bottom line? Okay. Now, what are the processes by which I could show an overall efficiency gain? Okay. Now, when you talk about qualitative matrices, you're talking about NPS within the organization and NPS from your customer's perspective as well. Now, how you engage with your customers and all of those things. Now, there are some definite ways of calculating the ROI. We're not going to that. Now, ROI can be a short term or a long term, depending on how you consider your investment and what are your business goals and other things. Now, we spoke about resource allocation. We will also speak about performance measurement, because that in a way ties down to your ROI. How you as an organization, you are performing, what is your connect with the customer, how is your product doing in the market. Okay. Now, on top of all of these things, there is another small element, which is your stakeholder confidence. Now, you have series A, B, C investors coming and investing in you. What is their confidence? And I'm not sure if they're worried about the top line, but bottom line definitely is a sweet topic for them. Now, you would also consider benchmarking, for example. Like I said, you have industry gurus. You could talk to them. If there are similar products like yours in the industry already, you could compare them with your product and look at benchmark and see how you could scale up or scale down your project, your product. If you have a historical data, AI is all about considering your historical data also, right? Then analyze the past innovation and then look at how you can predict your future also. And as is the case with all startup, there is this small element of risk assessment. There is always some amount of risk, right? Now you need to evaluate your risk when you plan your ROI calculations and see how about you go. There is no one specific way of attaining an ROI or getting to an ROI. There are so many variable factors that that are involved in this. Did I answer your question?
Fairly, yes. So I think definitely ROI becomes a lot more important
Oh, yes.
factor, both from the organization that's providing solutions as well as for the end user as well. So far as both of them can be justified, I think you have a fantastic business to run and the customers are happy man at the end of the day. So I think we're looking at connected devices everywhere, be it smartphones, smart TVs, home appliances, industrial systems, medical devices. But then that also feels scary, doesn't it? Victor, I think based on your extensive experience at Hitachi, what do you think? Are we more vulnerable with devices being connected, and how do we address the security?
Well, I'm the worst person ever. So I have a bunch of connected devices. One of them is actually listening to a bunch of stuff. I'm
I
not
could
going to
see
say
an
its name.
Amazon Eco bit back there.
I'm not going to say its name, otherwise it starts playing music, which is not good at this moment. But um, so, are we more vulnerable? In short, yes. In long answer to that, I think we need to split the challenges and possible mitigations for having all of these smart devices or IoT connectors. Bottom line, the more devices that you have, obviously, will increase any vulnerabilities that you're going to have across the board. That's the first thing. Every single device represents a potential attack surface. You have it connected. I think that Mikko Happonen, the F-Secure Chief Technology Officer, said, if it's smart, it's vulnerable. So if you have a smart device, it's immediately vulnerable for any kind of attack. So, and if you look at the challenges, let's split this in kind of three ways, right? First one, the data breaches. Any kind of device or any authorized access to any device might collect some sensitive data that either the device has or is being transmitted between the device and some server or some network, or even between a mesh, for example, that they might have. The second one is, if you look at the IoT, you can do device hijacking, right? Which is the exploitation of a weak or default security configuration that these devices have, and you can explore that to have access to that device. And let's not focus what you can do after you exploit or you hijack the device. That's a completely different thing. And the second thing is the distributed denial of service attacks to those devices that at the large scale can contribute to malfunctioning of the system. So if you have a very mission critical system that it's all connected and it has a bunch of sensors and a bunch of IoT devices connected to a network, and a lot of people will rely on that system to provide a critical part of the society in terms of a service, that will be probably compromised or could be compromised and can be vulnerable to distributed denial of service attacks. I'm not going to list everything that happened in the past few years, especially with SCADA and a bunch of other systems that were vulnerable and were used to actually for military attacks between different countries. Let's focus more on the commercial part, on the business side of things rather than this. And those three areas, so data breaches, device hijacking, and distributed denial of service, is something that we look at, and we need to take seriously. Now, the mitigations that we can do on top of that, right? How can we address this? As you ask, so look at the devices, do security hardening on the device, right? We're talking about authentication, encryption, access controls on all of those devices. That needs to be the first priority. You need to do hardening on any sensor, on any robotic equipment that you might have. It needs to be hardened. It needs to be probably in a separate network, split from other critical systems that you have on your organization, different networks that have different capabilities. And that brings me to the kind of the second mitigation or the second strategy that we need to put forward, which is the zero trust architecture. It's been along for a long time. We need to verify any device, any user, any connection, regardless of the network location. Some of these devices might be on the edge, in different factories or plants, in different parts of the organization. They need to be verified and they need to be implemented in a zero trust architecture the moment that you develop your network capabilities to incorporate all of this. And I'm trying to now loop this into the first question that you asked me about AI, and I love the Gen AI part, what everyone is doing right now. But the thing is, you can use AI and Gen AI to leverage any kind of threat detection, which is kind of interesting because the new way that especially Gen AI has been put into the market, it's to detect patterns. So it can be patterns because it already knows what it's going to do, or a pattern that it shouldn't be there, right? Anything that it's not expected. And we've been seeing that throughout the industry, how security systems are already using AI to do threat detection, to do monitoring of any IoT ecosystem, to detect anomalies, and even to respond to potential threats in real time. And I think that the last one, in terms of mitigation strategies, and this is kind of interesting. I'm just checking my note. This is kind of interesting because some of these devices, despite some of them being called smart, they're quite dumb in terms of updates. So, and in this audience, I probably think about the devices that you currently have on your home. Any kind of device. Again, not going to say the name because that one is going to activate something from Amazon, let's say, that you have on your home that is listening to something. Do you actually know when was the last firmware update? When was the last software update that piece of hardware had, right? Because vulnerabilities are going to happen throughout time. Right now, any device has a lifespan, right? It's going to have 1 to probably 3 years of security updates. That happens with your phone. Now, and that's a more commercial part of it, right? You get an Android and an iPhone, you're going to have a package of software updates and firmware updates that is going to happen, security all along. Software updates more frequently than the hardware itself. But those devices that are on the edge, that are on the factories, how many times do they actually release new firmware updates for security vulnerabilities, and how are you going to actually update those? So if you try to put all of that, the zero trust security, any kind of AI threat detection, harden the device at start, maybe you can mitigate that one, which is not having firmware and software updates. And I think that's where the industry needs to focus a bit more, because it's really hard right now for someone that buys a piece of equipment that has a network connection, and we don't know what's going to be the security update for that. And sometimes organizations, they don't know how they should be updating that, or how they should control all of those updates. We've seen this throughout some customer work that we've been doing, and sometimes we need really to do reverse engineering to understand how can we implement security measures into some of the more so-called smart devices that are hanging around. And for us, that's quite important. So some risks, obviously, some mitigations that we can put on that. I will bet on all of those. Yeah, hope that answered the question.
Well, definitely, yes. So, in fact, you already answered my next question in terms of what do you do at your organization in terms of ensuring security of data. But I think you, anyways, covered that up for me.
Good.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. So, I think all of us would agree that it is critical for any organization to ensure the security both of the customer and internal data. Okay, and uh, I think the audience would love to understand the challenges that each of your organizations face and how do you address them in a big organization like yours. So maybe we could start with Mr. Govind, then Sulekha can also fill in up, and Dr. Philip.
Yes. For starters, people can talk to the nearest Dell representative and start buying Dell products if you're really worried about your security. Okay, that's the best and sure short way for you to begin. But then that said, security is a very, very paramount. If I say paramount, I'll still be uh, not giving full justice to the kind of issues that we are actually staring at. As things become more and more intelligent, we are looking at much more problems in the future. Now, today we are not only talking about device insecurity, but also talking about the information that flows through the device. So we are talking about two-factor authentication, authentication of the device in itself in a large network, and the data that emanates through the network. Today, I can have a badge, right? I use this badge and enter my office. There is no way of finding out that if I am the guy, the holder of the badge is the person. I could use this badge to go to all places. There should be a mechanism which relates my face to my badge and then checks on my credentials. Okay. Now, so device vulnerabilities are the biggest challenges today. There are so many of them, insecure devices, and finding out the credentials of the device. Then we are talking about data privacy today. You have exabytes of data floating around in the atmosphere. When I say atmosphere, it's all around us, right? You pick up your phone, your microwave oven, your fridge, everything, everybody is transacting data today. Now, so you are surrounded by a deluge of information. Now, what is the security for all those things? Is your information being maintained, the sanctity that it deserves? I am not sure. Then network security. So like I said initially, there are about uh, so many estimates put there will be about 75 billion odd devices being connected to network transacting data in the IoT universe. Okay, now with so many devices floating around, what kind of security are we talking about? Sensitivity of the devices, sensitivity of handling data, sensitivity of data sharing today. Today, you take a flight, go and land in some place, your data is, I don't know the security of the data because my boarding card has got all the details of myself and that data is up for sale. We have heard of so many instances where if data is up for sale for several million users of data are up for sale. Okay, now that is one. With so many billions of devices in the network, there is no one standard operation, standard platform of operation. Interoperability is what we call. So there are so many devices using different protocols around various network going around. Since there is no standardization, security is also a moot point here, where how is my data protected when it moves from one division to another division? Okay, inconsistent security standards, interoperability issues, data integrity. When I move my data from one, for the lack of better word, I'm saying VLAN. Okay, now when it moves from one circle to another circle, because of the interoperability issue, is my data protected? Is my information protected? Okay, now that is one. Look at the complexity and the scale. This is humongous. Humongous is still an understatement. We are talking about what, so many billions of devices, and each device transacts so much, so many MBs of device data per second into 75 odd billion devices. We are talking about zettabytes of data floating all around us. Who is answerable to the security of all of these data? Now, all of these data don't reside in the cloud. It is humanly impossible to mount all of these data into the cloud. So it is there on-prem, in the cloud, hybrid, and all of those things. Who is providing the security? Is it the network operator? Is it the device manufacturer? Is it the CSP? Is it the data owner? There are so many variables here who are all collectively responsible for providing data security. And another very important aspect is a lot of many people don't realize it, but this is a very crucial cog in the overall security wheel is the insider aspect in an organization. When you're talking about ransomware, it was found out the insider attack contributed to a certain X percentage of ransomware attack. The complete ransomware cannot happen without help from an inside person. So if the fence is grazing the crop, how can you prevent that? Okay, so there are so many areas. Now, AI is still developing, right? This I just want to talk about this movie. You've all seen this Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, right, where all those machines getting to life and it starts attacking and all those things. That scenario is not very far off. You've seen the movie I, Robot. That scenario is all not very far away, where robots got themselves talking to each other and take control and then start misbehaving. So AI, as it develops, who will rein that? You will also need to build in controls over the AI, deployment of AI and scenarios, we need to imagine possible scenarios of how, when it goes beyond our control, how do you rein in them? Okay, that is one aspect. Now, because this is developing, the skill set of the people who are developing these things or who are deploying these things also comes into question. Now, if I want to deploy advanced AI algorithms in my company, now do I have the necessary skill set? All the personnel that I have in my office, are they all trained for this to handle these advanced algorithms? Do they have the enough wherewithal to handle all the security issues? So there are so many touch points, like Victor said, as the devices increase, there are the surface points, the touch points are also increasing. As the number of devices and algorithms increase, the complexities are also increasing. This is few areas where I think a security can seriously have a look at themselves.
I just
Thank you
want to
so
add
much.
a few point here. Uh, Coming to the movie segment, right? So, leave the world behind. The movie Netflix, where the Tesla cars are completely like there was a huge hit on the security breach happened, right? In this movie, like you saw, the self-driven car was. I know it's a movie, but there are vulnerability that is there all around in every devices. It's definitely up to us who's making and up to us who's utilizing, and there are a lot of aspect that has to be taken care on that. I agree. uh, just to add a few point here, when we are making the devices, there are like encryption mode, the communication mode that has to be proper standard protocol that we should maintain. The role-based accessibility, like who's accessing the data, whose authorization is this. Uh, all this accessibility has to be maintained in organization way. Um, Regular security audit that has to be taken care to mitigate any kind of risk. Um, when it comes to the compliances, the GDPR, the data privacy, ISO compliances has to be taken care for device who's making it, right? And definitely, employee has to be trained with proper cybersecurity protocol. The best practices has to be considered. Yeah, I'll just summarize in that aspect that it's required. It's very very important to measure the proper security protocol in all aspect of the data privacy, whether it's say AI driven or whether it's generated from IoT devices or it's your own business data. It's required in all aspect to be secure the data.
Absolutely, yes. Security is the elephant in the room that everybody needs to address. And yet the responsibility is from all of us, including the users, the device manufacturers, the algorithm writers, the end users. Everybody has a role to play in safeguarding the security of the data and the devices.
Thank you so much. Dr. Philip, if we could also know your views on the aspect of security.
Yeah, I'm audible. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So I kind of want to answer this question in two parts. As say security, everybody has talked about quite lengths, but there is also one responsibility that we should not forget is safety. It is your own individual responsibility. I cannot say that I bought this mobile phone from some X company and it's the job of the company to ensure that the mobile phone is safe for me. It's also my job to make sure that it is updated properly. It's not doing something that's not supposed to do. So security can be ensured, the safe or secure environment can be ensured, but safety is also equally paramount. So when you, as a device, become more and more smarter and other kind of things. So like aircrafts, if you look into it, earlier the pilots were very involved in flying an aircraft. Now the job of the pilot is more not flying the aircraft. The computer flies the aircraft. The job of the pilot is to monitor them. So it's become pilot flying. It has become pilot monitoring almost. So and sometimes when you write codes and other kind of things, I mean, usually, not everybody is a brilliant programmer or something. But I remember during my student days, the AI lecture used to say, if you have like prologue or first order predicate language systems in which you can say a murder is bad, and X is a human being, and X is a murder, then obviously the conclusion comes out of it is a human being is bad, kind of a thing, right? So that's unless you don't put proper checks and balances into. So I mean, you may write the code just to do something out of it, but these kind of uh, logic-based driven systems, which you derive a conclusion based on certain set of states of the system, you have to put in checks and balances. So whether they're doing it or not doing it, I have no clue. I mean, I don't know the code. Nobody has. That's why everybody talks about this electronic voting machine. This is AAO, all those nonsenses we hear left, right, and center everywhere around. So what happens is a lot of the time, transparency is one way to ensure that, okay, this is what we are intending to do, and this is what we have, and maybe now you take a look into it and then decide whether you want to do it or not. But then transparency is not always what businesses would like to do. And hence, as everybody rightly said, it's a big elephant in the room. But human beings have tamed elephants also. It's taken some time. So, I mean, maybe Indians usually ride on elephants, right? Yeah, and that said, some of the people I know, very old school people, they refuse using smartphones. They still use the keypad phone, saying that that's enough for me. All I need is an OTP from that. I don't care for WhatsApp. I don't care for anything because I don't know which idiot has programmed this. I mean, that's the way they talk to me and they said, that's it. That's end of discussion. So I'm not saying that this whatever, but there are people who take the security or their safety to an extreme extent by doing it. So there is also, you cannot put all the blame on the organization itself also. The individual also is equally a stakeholder in this game. And if I have to be sure about my safety, as you said, like these systems allow a lot of business opportunities. For example, earlier Rolls-Royce, who sells aircraft engines, they came up with the business model of not selling aircraft engines. They sell power. So an aircraft takes off and lands. They said, okay, here is this. You use this many kilogram force of thrust. Pay me $2 per kilogram force of thrust. This much of money, transfer it into my bank account. Companies are also happy. It's a business expense. You don't have to buy this bloody expensive engine and depreciate it. Instead, you just pay for the power. Now you keep on putting sensors into the engine to monitor everything. And then, but the argument is that, or Rolls-Royce says, we are going to monitor, or we are basically making sure that the repair, maintenance, everything is done appropriately. So the airlines is going to now put the trust on the Rolls-Royce, and Rolls-Royce is putting the trust on the sensor that is put in to sense it correctly and say that yes, the engine is actually working fine. So the checks and balances. So we blindly trust the sensor alone and not have a human visual inspection going on. Many a times, that's where things go really the other way. When you look at many of the aircraft accidents, the pilots sometimes actually trust the instrument more than their gut idea of flight. And then they say, oh, but the airspeed sensor was saying this. And there are many accidents in which they said there is an overspeed warning and a stall warning coming the same time in the cockpit. And the pilots are trying to address both. I mean, the logical question is, how can both happen at the same time? So that is the third part of the human. I mean, we should not put our brain or logic in some safe and expect that the sensors and everything will do the job for us also. So I also want to bring in the angle of safety. Individual responsibility is also part of this, because what is being told to you also need to be understood and thought through in that angle. Thank you.
That was great. I think the safety angle was something that was missed, but then the important one. It's everybody's responsibility as well to take care of themselves. Yep, IoT AI, scary, but very, very exciting. And like every new revolutionary technology that comes into play, it will have its pros and cons. We as technologists can at least take care of ensuring that the pros are pushed further and the cons can be curtailed in an extent by simplifying technology for everybody and not just people who are engineers. So I think, yes, we'll continue striving to do that. Now, with the end of this panel discussion, we would want two startups in IoT and AI to present their companies, their work, and probably there can be a Q&A after the 10-minute presentation. So we can start with Zest IoT. Atif, I think the stage is all yours.
Hi, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Nasscom for organizing this wonderful session. And whatever was discussed by Mr. Deepu, Sulekha, Victor, and Govindarajan, we could resonate that this is what we do. Struggling to solve a problem, struggling to ensure things are secure and safe, struggling to make sure nobody is peeping into what we are doing. Because some of the use cases that we do currently are very sensitive in terms of these are government organizations or airports that we deal with. And plus, nobody wants to buy a fancy gadget without taking an ROI out of it. So all this is what we do. By the way, my name is Atif Damodi. I handle the pre-sales and the engineering solutions for Zest IoT. So there are two domains we deal with. So because the time is short, I'll keep it very specific to two use cases that we solve. One is we take two challenges here. One is to enhance the human capability. There are some, most of you travel by flights more often. From the time the flight lands till takeoff, there are around 61 to 70 activities that happens. From somebody placing the cone, the flight comes and stops at the bay, and then the door opens. And if there is a delay in one of the operations, that will lead to the delay of a flight. So we have two challenges here. The person comes here and monitors everything. One or two people are deployed. He comes and see at what time the flight lands, at what time it took off, what time the door opened, what time the catering truck came into picture, and what time the cleaning lady cleaned up the whole flight and came down. So these are certain activities that we are supposed to monitor per flight. And this was the challenge given to us. And we had two sensors to choose from. One is visual. The person is actually seeing everything and monitoring what things are coming, what time the flight lands, and so on. And there are certain things with is not visible by a camera. That's why the IoT came into the picture. With your permission, I would like to share the slide how the view of our application looks like.
Sure.
Just let me know if you can see the screen. One more.
It's visible.
Sorry, let me. Yeah, let me put in the presentation mode. Just give me a minute. Hope the screen is visible now. Sorry for the delay.
Yes, it is.
Sure. So Zest IoT, the main motto is connect people, places, assets, and operations. So with this motto, we have two main verticals. One is the aviation and one is the non-aviation.
Atif, you're there?
I think his screen froze.
I'll come to that. Now, sorry.
We lost you for a
So
while.
this is our leadership team, Amit Sukija. Hey,
Uh,
can you hear me
Other the
now?
slides, yeah, we can hear you. The slides are not changing. Yeah,
Okay. Is it visible now?
yes, it is.
Okay. Now this is our leadership team. Amit Sukija, who's on travel right now. He unfortunately he was not able to join in. So, now this is the customer base we have in aviation and non-aviation. We deal with most of the largest airports around. We have Dubai, Gatwick, Bangalore, Brussels, Delhi, Hyderabad, Manchester. And in non-aviation side, we have BPCL, HPCL, Indian Oil. Mostly oil and gas and steel manufacturing is in our portfolio, where we provide our solutions. Our head office is in Hyderabad, and we have other offices across the globe. Now, in this IoT, we have two capabilities. I'll deal with, because of the shortage of time, I'll deal with two main cases. One is to enhance human capability, and the second vertical is to build new capabilities, which is not possible by human. As described earlier, these are the operations. Imagine a person has to view and continuously monitor. So with one camera or a couple of cameras and some AI algorithms running behind, everything can be monitored and data can be calculated without even a miss. We keep saying that AI should not blink. So if you blink, we miss an operation. AI never blinks. With this, we generate inputs. So there are two. This is what the camera sees, and there are many hidden places. Like I have to figure out how fast the baggage trolley is moving, how fast this particular pushback vehicle is moving, what is the exact position of it, and so on. Based on that, I need to figure out when the next operations can take place. So here all these vehicles, IoT devices are put in, and whatever is visually possible, multiple activities are detected in one go, in one frame. So these are the offerings that we have. With the inputs from camera and IoT, we are able to predict when the next flight could, how long is the delay will be for this particular flight, how long will it take for the next flight to come in, and based on the historical data, how much of optimization can we do. So these are the insights we can get using the power of IoT and AI. So we can, here you can see that this particular flight will be delayed by 20%. This is already on time. This is everything is getting filled out on time. So each flight that you see around, we can actually predict when it's going to take off, how long it's going to delay. Based on this, we can also optimize the resources that are employed here and do a uniform allocation of all people across the airport. So this is one of the use cases. You can see, you can go deep into it, and we can even predict what time will this be on block or off block. So this is one of an human's capability where you'll get the data, all the decision has to be done. The data is coming with prediction and so on. The human does only the validation of the decisions that are done by AI. The second use case is the audio. Let me know if the audio is, you can hear the audio of the presentation. This is, we have created a new capability which is impossible for a human being. Let me share the screen again with audio. Uh, can you hear the audio?
No, not able to hear the audio.
Okay, this is maybe I'll narrate as it goes. So
Sure.
sure. So you see there are a lot of industrial conveyor belts that run along kilometers and kilometers. And if this conveyor belt fails unpredictably without maintenance, it's gonna per day it's gonna cost millions of dollars in production. In more than 33% of loss of production, millions of dollars are lost because of this. And monitoring this is an really laborious task, which is almost impossible by a human being to do. For this, taking this as a challenge, Zest IoT developed a product called Predicton. So this particular machine that you see here has machine vision cameras inbuilt in it. which will continuously monitor the material for its temperature. It will monitor empty bells. See, and it'll also calculate how much of a defect is there and predict when the next scheduled maintenance should be done. So if you look at the conveyor, the monitoring and other sensors that will also figure out if the material is going in the right texture, right quantity, right constituents, and so on. So we have, it's easy to maintain. So if you see, there are some sensors below that we have put, which will also see if there is a spillage detection and so on. And this will give us a precise report and with lot of data. So it's not generic data that we get. With lot of data that we have collected over the years, we're able to identify and give a prediction rate of close to 100%. It's 99.98%. So these two are the use cases I wanted to highlight. And in terms of security, as Dr. had highlighted and Victor and others had highlighted, these are highly secure. And we also purchase a lot of systems from Dell to keep our system safe. And along with this, we also have similar use cases deployed other organizations, which we also monitor SOP, the plant, and create a complete digital twin of the plant to give you insights on what is happening at what time and each area of the plant, which is visually not possible by a human being. So that gives an highlight of what we do as an organization. Any questions?
Yeah. Panel members, feel free to ask questions. I think that was a fantastic pitch by Atif. I think you guys are doing a great work, image processing and bringing data and optimizing whole operations across various industries.
Zest, I believe, is an existing Dell customer, and
Correct.
yeah, okay. So you can say that loudly also so that other people can hear it.
We do most of the edge servers that we use in our hundreds of plans that we are deployed are from Dell actually.
Thank you so much.
So, Atif, how long have you guys been into business and how has the business been so far?
Yeah, so it's all about nobody wants to buy a fancy garage as you had highlighted. We were founded in 2016, so it's close to 8 years now. And we have been cash flow positive since the beginning because our CEO and co-founder, Mr. Amit Sukeja, always believed that a business has to be revenue generating and it has to be cash flow positive. Using that and finding the right market fit and you solving a problem which the customer enjoys as an ROI and we enjoy as a revenue has been the core of our business. So it's been quite successful so far, and I think we have hit the right segment at the right point, giving unique capabilities to industries as well as aviation as well as the manufacturing, where they're actually deriving good outcomes and utilizing the existing budget to fund these projects so that the ROI for them is also high. For us also as in revenue, it is very high. So it's quite been successful, I would say.
So, have you guys raised funds? If yes, how much? Are you guys looking to raise funds?
Yeah, we have raised Series A from IV Cap. I'm not sure whether I can disclose this thing amount here. Probably if Amit would have had the liberty. We have raised the Series A funding.
Great. If there are no further questions, I'd
There
like
is
to
a-
move on to the.
Sorry. There is a question in the Q&A section.
Yep.
What is the question? Q&A.
So any views on perception AI and response AI projects? Arthur, you would have taken care of that, especially in the aviation industry that you work?
Yeah, so for us, uh, the more the data we have got, the more predictability we have attained in terms of getting, what do you say, precise outcomes of what gonna be the next steps, you know. The more the data we collect and the more the predictability and perceptions we build on top of it. So right now in the aviation sector, we've had a good run. And I mean, the question is a little vague. If you could elaborate a little more on it, probably I could answer better.
And also there's a question, is the organization registered in India? Yes, no.
Yeah.
Yes, we have registered in India and we have an office in, we are expanding multiples now. The main R&D headquarter is in India. We also have offices in Amsterdam now. And next will be in Malaysia and US. We are expanding.
Okay, so thank you, Arthur. Thank you so much. We'll move on to the next startup, ByteBeam.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Hey, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible, Ravi.
Cool, cool. Hey, thanks Nasscom for this wonderful opportunity. I'll introduce myself and my company. I'm Ravi Teja. I'm the CTO of ByteBeam.io. As we know, IoT can mean a lot of things, right? Like in the spectrum of connected devices, IoT, the word IoT can mean different things. It can be a product which is connected for smart. It can be an IoT company who's creating very vertical solution, or it can be a platform who is giving the base, the least common denominators necessary to build smart products, right? We fall into the third category. We are a IoT platform company. We give primitives to build verticalized solutions on top, right? Um, so, right, like what we have realized in 2019, this is like before we started ByteBeam, me and my co-founders, we used to work at Aether Energy. The problem statement we had was like, we want to be a very data-driven, agile company, agile hardware company at that point. So we are building a lot of systems which leverages data, and soon realize the ecosystem is not as mature as web ecosystem, right? Like if you see web ecosystem, like the agility is fantastic, right? Like right from collecting data to analyzing data for like understanding performance of web apps, understanding usage patterns, better project management, better update life cycle. The feedback loop is like fantastic, right? Like web developers, that's why develop products very fast, which is not the case with hardware companies. So we realized there is a big gap in how hardware companies can move ahead. So we started by doing 2019 to build that like tight feedback loop and started building the core primitives. When I say core primitives, right, like we give SDKs to collect data, right, like alerts to, right, like understand, to be proactive about algorithms, product usage, etc., dashboards to visualize, remote shell, right, like to be able to access the device remotely, or their updates to fix bugs faster. We started building these things, and what we realized along the way is like it needs a very right, like first principles approach of how do you deal with security, how do you deal with large scale data collection, how do you deal with like updating millions of devices, right? And yeah, that's broadly the platform, right? Like we are primarily in automotive, dealing with automotive customers today, but like the platform itself is very horizontal, right? Like wherever data collection, alerts, visualizations, role-based access control, very heavy tight security feedback loops are necessary, that's where we come into play. To just give a better sense of the product, I'll probably use one case study of our customer, which is appliance, right? I'll just share my screen. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, so appliance, right, like develops next generation cooking assistance devices, right? Like it does a like bunch of menial tasks, right? Like where like new generation, if you are like if its goal is to enable next generation of people to cook, right? Like it does a lot of automation and helps you in cooking. The way appliance uses us is to collect data of their cooking algorithms, right? Like and have alerts if their cooking algorithms is not performing as per like based on user feedback, etc. They use our dashboards as you would see here to understand what's happening with their algorithms, whether it is heating machines, right, like kneading machines, whatever it is. And they use our OTA systems to update back their algorithms so that like they can ship better tasting recipes faster, right? Without IoT, it might have been right like a very manual job to, and the feedback loops would be like probably 10x more than what they could do with data, right? Like using that, they could almost reduce 90% of their time to market, right? Like purely by being a very data first new age tech company which uses connectivity. Right? I think that would be my time. Any questions?
Nothing from my side.
Ravi, how long have you guys been in business? What kind of customers you're looking at right now? Some idea on that?
Yeah, so we've been in business since 2019, right? Like most of our customers are new generation EV and charging infra companies. And we also seen like companies like Appliance who are making next generation of hardware products, cooking robots, drones, building management systems, etc. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from the panelists, from the audience?
Are you planning for deployment in the restaurant where, let's say, like cloud kitchen, as well as the where the very intense supply chain processes are already been in place, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Any thoughts?
So we are fairly like we don't have any vertical specificness to be honest. It depends on whoever is like imagining how the solution look like. We just come in and help them solution it. But we are not like tied down to any specific vertical. If there is a good use case, happy to right like engage.
Yep. Krish, I believe you have a question, please.
Hello. Hi. My
Hi,
name is
Krish.
Krishnanga. I am from Guwahati, Assam. Sorry for my hair. I'm from Guwahati, Assam, and my company's name is PetScan Technologies Private Limited. So what we are basically doing is we are trying to lower the cost of acquisition for a digital pathology setup for a small lab.
Mhm.
To get a basic digital pathology setup for a lab, one would have to spend at least 2 lakhs to 3 lakhs and above, depending on the requirement. However, our idea is to come up with 3D printed, low cost, ultra low cost, in fact, 3D printed solutions using IoT technology, so that we can give a hardware, an automated microscope to the lab for as low as 15,000, and we charge them on a per user basis, like a hardware as a service model, right? So that is what we are working on. And recently, I'm happy to share that recently we have been incubated under STPI's MedTech, that is in Gangtok. So we have been incubated there, and yeah, and
Your
regarding a
uh,
question, that is my introduction. Regarding a question, I would ask, like, if anyone could enlighten me on what kind of sources are there, so that I can get the data to train my AI algorithms, especially on pathology, if anyone is into that field.
Yeah, probably I'm not the right person for AI algorithms, but anyway.
Any of the panelists like to take the question?
Not my area of expertise. So.
All right.
So, Krish, if you could probably get in touch with certain pathological labs around your area. Sorry, yes. You're saying something, Vitali?
Yes. So there are a lot of places where you can have, and there are data which you can accumulate and take, and which are unstructured, and you can develop some algorithms and have a predictive analytics set on that. And that definitely would, depending on the problem that you're trying to solve. So yes, there are a lot of sources and open sources data which is available in the marketplace, which are unstructured, which are for free, which can be procured and picked up, and some of the algorithms can be worked upon that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
There is Path AI and Prosica, which normally commercial-based
I'm sorry.
data set.
Could you repeat?
Path AI, it's like Path AI, and
Okay.
Prosica that gives you commercial-based data sets for
Can you spell Prosica, ma'am?
PROSCIA. I can ping in the chat.
SCIA.
Yes.
Okay.
Prosica.
Okay.
I think
Thank you.
that commercial-based data
Thank you.
sets for Path AI.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. So I think we are reaching the end of the discussion. A big thank you to all our panelists for the incredible insights and to both the startups for showcasing their work, fantastic work. Let's continue to explore and innovate together and simplify technology for everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.